All right, looks like we are live. Right. Today we got a great episode. It's a big old Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking with a fellow named Anthony B. Daniels, who is also known as Moose Harris. He is an arts and humanities business polysmith. I'm going to figure out what that is today for sure. But he is greatly involved in the creative community, been involved for a while. He's a talented artist, producer. He does radio. He does writing in the Lafayette music scene and other communities. So it's going to be a cool episode. Our studio is sponsored by Optimize GP. That's Optimize Generator People. Their website is optimizegp.com. So hurricane season is in full swing. We haven't had anything major, thankfully, but Optimize Generator People, they specialize in reliable home standby Generac generators. So if you're looking to power your home with confidence during any outage, check them out. If you are the type of person who can't live without electricity for more than 30 seconds, this thing kicks on after 30 seconds of the power going off. So your Wi-Fi, your Real Housewives of Atlanta, all that good stuff is coming back on. Trust me, my wife watches Real Housewives of Atlanta nonstop. And if that goes off, end of the world type of situation. So yeah, check them out. Optimize Generator People, optimizegp.com. Great local sponsors. And with that, enjoy the episode. Our presenting sponsor is Chase Group Construction. They take the lead and become your one point of contact for the entire design build process. So if you're looking to build a new business, call them. They design it, they build it from the ground up, or they can help you renovate a business. Great local sponsor again, chasegroupconstruction.com. They've been with us for a while. Really appreciate their support. And with that, let's get into the episode. So like I said, we have Anthony B. Daniels, or Anthony Daniels, also known as Moose Harris. Anthony, welcome to the T Podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. I'm glad to be here. Like I said, when I came in, it's a nice setup. So I know it's got a good vibe. We're going to have a good time. Yeah, man.
Okay. So learning a little bit about who you are with the information that you sent me initially, you have in your description, arts and humanities business polysmith. Okay. Mm-hmm. Poly, I know to be like multiple things. Mm-hmm. And so a smith is usually like a blacksmith, somebody who works with their hands and does. So obviously, I guess polysmith means you do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely what it means. I'm a hands-on multitasker, in those realms with arts and humanities, and there's always a side of business in it. Whether I'm talking about as far as being an artist, being a DJ, being and all the other things I do in reference towards working with different entities and broadcasting media and arts media, and being somebody who communicates with a number of different people, both around the city, around the parish, around the state, and around the country, just trying to tie in things together for the betterment of various peoples. One of the things I usually say for myself is helping myself through helping others, is always the best way. As long as that trickle-down effect comes down towards me and I'm able to help somebody else or other group of people in their situation, that's the type of stuff I want to do, so the vast majority of it falls within the arts and humanities. And like I said, there's no problem with getting paid with it every now and then with it too,
Yeah, so right.
Hence the phrase.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you originally from this area?
I'm originally from New Iberia.
New Iberia. Okay. Yeah, so not that far away.
Yeah, shout out B-Town,
Yeah. Okay. So what do you live in Lafayette now?
Yeah. I live here in Lafayette.
What got you out of DeBerry?
Actually going to college is what got me out of Berry, because when I first moved from New Iberia, I moved to New Orleans, attended the University of New Orleans, pre-Katrina, pre-9/11 days, because I'm kind of old on the slick, but that's relative, whatever. But spent my college years in New Orleans, what may have you, till Katrina, and that's when I moved back to Lafayette after Hurricane Katrina. So it's literally 20 years ago this fall when I moved back to Lafayette the first time. Lived here a few years, Then spent time living in North Louisiana, Ruston, Shreveport, and also Arkansas and Texas. And my wife and I moved back here to Lafayette about 9 years ago. So it's been since 2015, 2016, coming back to Lafayette the second time.
Wow.
And just going from here.
So from New Iberia to New Orleans, then to
New Iberia to New Orleans to Lafayette,
and then to
Ruston,
North Louisiana
to
and
Ruston,
Arkansas
Shreveport,
area.
Arkansas, Texas.
God.
Back here to Lafayette.
What were you doing in North Louisiana area?
I was actually expanding on the radio aspects of me, believe it or not. I had an opportunity. I had always had some small connections with Shreveport, reference towards my music, networking with people, trying to do shows, what may have you, out here being based there in Lafayette. This is back when Facebook was next to nothing on the mainstream. So those connections we have today where we can just press a button and get in touch with somebody from Istanbul in reference to us doing shows or whatever. It wasn't exactly like that back then. So when the opportunity came, through some friends, I moved up there, and the opportunity happened and started making those connections there. And that's where my radio experience actually started, because I had a radio experience from when I was living in New Orleans doing high school reports and things like that. Shout out to Ken Trahan and WWL, what may have you. But up there is where I started working with the ESPN radio affiliate out there in Ruston. So I ended up doing work for Grambling and Louisiana Tech and Louisiana Monroe, what may have you, so on and so forth. And then students at Centenary. I wasn't attending the college, but I had just had an album that I was going to submit over to them, add to your library, spin the music, what may have you. And they found out I was doing the stuff in Ruston with ESPN Radio and was like, hey, would you like to have your own radio show? I'm like, yes, I would like to have my own radio show. Yeah. So that's where my original radio show, Urban Flowsaurus, started in 2010. So that time period is really where the radio thing started expanding, gaining the connections from that general area in reference towards my music, what may have you. And then it was a great experience. And Arkansas and Texas was more radio things. I've worked for about a half a dozen different radio affiliates while I was in Arkansas and Texas over that 2 to 3 year period. So that's what I was doing up there.
So in radio, were you doing sports broadcasting, or were you doing music?
I was actually doing both. In Ruston, I was doing the sports broadcasting with Sean Fox and Company, all those guys up there. They were an ESPN radio affiliate at the time. So I was the one manning the boards, what may have you, while during the afternoon show, talk shows and things like that. At Centenary at KSCL was college radio. So even though I wasn't a student there, I was able to come in as like a community volunteer and host my own radio show. So I was doing my music show, Urban Flowsaurus, where I played a lot of independent urban sounds, hip hop, R&B, jazz, playing anything with a groove from Louis Armstrong to the Roots was the motto that I had there. And I would literally play anything because I love music. Genre doesn't mean anything to me. So going from Outkast to Nancy Sinatra was nothing to me. Okay. And I did it many times. So that's where the separation came, but it all paralleled because it was all radio to me.
Yeah. So you mentioned you do music. You have an album or several, I'm sure.
Several.
So what is your genre of music?
When people ask that, I tell them that I'm a hip hop based artist, but like I said, genre doesn't really mean that much to me. I was a jazz and classical major at the University of New Orleans.
Okay.
I played classical saxophone, alto sax, baritone sax, emphasis on the baritone sax, and I was a jazz vocalist. So singing was always the first thing that I always did in music coming up in New Iberia, Mount Calvary Baptist Church, North Street Elementary, all those type of things. Singing was first. And so I did that at UNO. And as things moved on, being in New Orleans during the early 2000s is when the explosion of Cash Money and everything happened, and all the other independent labels, what may have you. So while it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do in reference towards rhyming, in reference towards emceeing, it almost was slightly a necessity because there's that fine line in between levels of New Orleans musicians. You have these world famous New Orleans musicians who are nowhere never going to be mainstream, but they're internationally known. They go to festivals here, there, what may have you. And some of those ended up being like my professors and my teachers, and what may have you. You know, I studied under the late Ellis Marcellus directly. I was a part of his last jazz combo the semester he retired in 2001.
Oh, wow.
You know, hence my first EP coming out many years later was from those recordings. It was my final exam. You know, those 3 or 4 songs I did was my final exam to him before he retired, hence the jazz EP I have here now. So that fine line between being at UNO and then being within New Orleans, I was like, okay, well, I have people that say they want to rap and do hip hop and things like that. And I was doing production for all of them out of my apartment on campus, you know, a privateer place. Like, okay, well, y'all somewhat whatever, shay-shan about it. You know, I've always been involved in English. My mom has a master's in English. I definitely know how to speak. So let me see what I can do with it together. And it just so happens that the combination of that and being the first band I was in at the time, the Reggae Ska Conspiracy. See, I'm all over the place with music. So we done named 5 genres already. I was doing all at the same time. A combination of that is what opened me up more to doing more solo hip hop things and what may have you. And that's the type of stuff people responded to more so. So like, okay, I already love music. I always want to be involved in music. This is the way y'all gonna cheer me on and check me out. Well, then might as well just keep going. And hence, Moose Harris. You know, even though my nickname has always been Moose, coming from New Iberia. Okay, that's a basketball thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that hence the whole Moose Harris thing comes through and everything. So
what is the Moose name stemmed from?
Actually, I've been nicknamed Moose since I was about 14.
Wow.
It comes from playing basketball in New Iberia, going way back, New Iberia Freshman High, which is now Westgate.
Is Moose, the animals are pretty big, stout animals. Were you a bigger kid playing basketball?
It's crazy because people today say that I have some physical intimidation. I mean, I'm about 5'10", 5'11", 215, roughly like that. So in the regular everyday world, that has a level of intimidation or what may have you, but in the sports world and even in my family that's half academic, half military, all sports really, I'm actually considered short and small in my family. Right. You know when you have 2 6-foot parents, when you have 3 out of your 4 aunts that are at least 6'1", when you have a 6'4" little brother and you had a 6'2", 6'3" uncle, short. Yeah, I'm considered short in my family. So I guess I played bigger than what I was used to coming from family-wise, what may have you, being, slightly under 6 feet. So I was never a guard. I wasn't the person who handled the ball. I was in the paint for basketball. I was getting physical. So one day at practice, they just started calling me Moosehead, half jokingly, half whatever. And the moniker has stuck for 31 years.
Wow. No, I love it, man. Hey, Moose is a solid nickname, man. Okay. So we are at about 13 minutes. I want to go ahead and get my last sponsor in. Yeah, go ahead. And that is Music Academy of Acadiana, and it's just appropriate. Music Academy of Acadiana has been with us for a while. Their website, musicacademyacadiana.com. So if you're looking to learn music and don't know where to start, you can start there. Start from the bottom. If you think you have a voice, you can fine tune it there. If you want to learn wind instruments, string instruments, if you want to beat on things, if you just want to twist knobs and, do whatever, pull switches, the whole thing. You can be an audio production guy. They teach that there. They have an in-house award-winning studio where they record and produce several different albums from local artists there. So it's a great local school founded by Tim Benson, a UL Lafayette music school graduate who's also in a band called The Criers, which is more of a early 2000s alternative rock, screamo type music. And so if you know My Chemical Romance, if you know A Day to Remember, if you know all those punk rock type stuff, that's their jam. We actually had them on to the podcast a few episodes ago, but yeah, they're a sponsor, and we really appreciate them. And let's get on back with the conversation. Okay, so so the way you and I got connected, and it's more or less with a local business that you've been kind of a part of for a while, is Artmosphere.
Yeah.
Okay, so Artmosphere has been this point of local contention for the longest time. Whenever I moved here in 2010, I remember, I went to a music store on Johnson Street. It was in the Time Plaza, and this store, I think, ultimately relocated. I think it was a C&M guitar. It was like something.
I knew exactly what you were talking about as soon as you said the location.
Yeah. So I went in there. It's like right around whenever I moved here, and I found this little drum pad, electric drum pad, and I was playing on it. It was like a demo version inside the store, and I was playing on it, and I had it set to some sort of like Middle Eastern Indian style music instrument, and I was just making a cool beat. I love drums. I love beats. And as I was doing that, they had this guy, and I guess his kid or something walked by and says, "Man, you're pretty good on that thing. You should come to Atmosphere and play there." I'm like, I had no clue what Atmosphere was at that time. I was like, Atmosphere, that sounds cool. And then once I'm finally got my footing here, I passed by it one day. I'm like, that place looks funky. Like it's like kind of cool. So tell me. That's the extent of my beginning knowledge of Atmosphere, but you've been with Atmosphere since pretty much the beginning.
I started off as a customer, as somebody who hung out there, as somebody who spent time in between being in the oil center at Cafe Cottage and being downtown at Renaissance, what may have you. I was one of those kids, one of those Freetown, they call it Freetown rats, cafe rats. Well, I'm a cafe cat, Freetown cat. That's a whole other story. So that's where my experience with Atmosphere. And then soon after, I was able to start becoming one of the musicians who performed there at Atmosphere, pre-stage, coming in only on the Johnson Street side. And those who know that there's been different levels and different fortes in reference towards Atmosphere then. That happened for many years, and then as it changed ownership from the original ownership with Barry and what may have you to the Trahan family out of Lake Arthur, that's where I got more involved in the promotional aspects. I went from trying to book myself over there to booking some of my friends, what may have you, throwing angles from a promoter standpoint, and that turned into, well, can you just help us get shows there, period, and doing sound there. So when ownership changed over again earlier this year over to the Bennetts, I was the one who had the key to allow them to come in and check the place out before they decide to open it, and that's where it comes in. Now I'm officially doing official booking. I can tell anybody I am the booking agent for Atmosphere. I'm the one that books all the talent, what may have you, and I also still do sound there. So it's been a journey, a roller coaster, going from somebody who used just to go there and hang out with bartender friends and drink and be with the hookahs and what may have you, all the way to performing, to being more behind the scenes in reference towards the building, what may have you, and still performing on the stages as time goes along. You know? So yeah, it's 15 years plus at least.
Wow. Okay, so a very near and dear follower of mine, Catherine Lemoyne, commented and said, "That's a good dude there. He loves kitty cats too." Oh
yeah. That's what I say about the cats. Yeah, if one of the alternative things in reference towards me is that I am a cat named Moose. I do have that cat alter ego, and while not trying, it seems to happen all the time. I'll walk up to somebody just normal, just walking up, and they're like, "We didn't hear you coming at all." Like, I don't know if that's the military in me. I don't know if that's the feline in me. I don't know. It's just, So yeah, me and cats we're great.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of a tangent. Since you're a cat guy, if you were to, I guess, describe your cat self. Let's just get weird a little bit here.
Oh, that ain't weird.
Okay.
That ain't weird at all.
Okay.
That's easy.
What cat would you identify as?
Oh, I'm a hybrid.
Okay.
I'm a hybrid. Matter of fact, I already have a name for it I've used for many years. It's a Tixalot. It's a tiger ocelot hybrid. So therefore, kind of going back to the physicality we was talking about, my personality, my brain, my self-confidence is like a tiger, one of the big cats, one of the main stereotypical cats that people know when you're talking about quote
big
unquote
cat,
jungle
yeah.
cats, what may have you. But in reality, I'm more of an ocelot. I'm right there in between, as I will be bigger than the domesticated cats. I will be bigger than your house cat, but I may not be as physically big in my career, in my life, in the things that I do in comparisons to other people as the lions and tigers or what may have you. So, once again, having a mother who had a master's in English, living in New Orleans, combine those two and you have TIGCELO2. Ticks a lot.
I love that. I didn't even know what you said, an ocelot?
Yeah, tiger, ocelot. The ocelot is really like quote unquote the smallest of the big cats. That's what they say. It's the smallest of the big cats. So yeah,
I know there's some big cats out there that are domesticated, not the tigers per se, but there's like, what is a Maine Coon?
Yeah, that would be more of your stereotypical four-leggers that you have at houses. The Maine Coon, they big ears, big hair, big long tails.
Yeah.
Very, very dramatic, dare I say, British-like appearance in reference towards where they be. And yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So ocelot is more of a let's say it's a mini jaguar. Let's say it's a mini puma. So its appearance will be like a jaguar puma with the spots, leopard with the spots, what may have you, but it may only be like this big.
Okay.
So it'll be slightly bigger than a regular cat. Won't be as big as a tiger. So yeah. But I got the big personality and a quote unquote smaller size in the sports world I come from. So it takes a lot.
So you're not an orange cat.
I love orange cats. No, I'm not an orange cat, even though kind of like Garfield, I do like food. I love food, what may have you. But no, I'm not an orange cat. I'm a little bit more organized than that.
Yeah, orange cat, dude. So anytime, especially like on social media, whenever I see cat videos and it's like a cat doing crazy stuff or doing like mischievous stuff, it's usually the orange cats. It's orange cat activity all day long.
Oh, and I have one. I've had 2 or 3 orange cats in my life. I have one right now, so shout out to my cat Syracuse. I have multiple cats. Once again, that's another whole story how that all happens. It wasn't necessarily volunteered to end up with 7 cats, but I have 7 cats.
God,
so
you're the crazy cat guy.
I'm working on it. I'm definitely working on it. One of them, orange cat Syracuse. I love his personality. He has that orange cat behavior, but he's real chill about it. Like dare I say, if there's such thing as stoner orange cats, this cat might be it. Right. Orange cat energy, but real laid back. Like when when he poses and sits down and just chills, he might as well be the most interesting man in the world. Like those commercials, and me and wife call him that all the time because he'll just be laid back, like, hey.
I love that. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so kind of going back to Atmosphere real quick. I remember a lot of the news coming out years ago with Atmosphere potentially closing, and then they're back, and then they're potentially closing again. And one of the main things, and you may know a little bit more in depth of the history that involves this, is that their geographical location being close to a church kept getting in the way because you can't have alcohol so many feet within a church. What was the issue there? What do you know a little bit about
I
that?
remember I wasn't involved in it. I was still in my customer / musician phase with Atmosphere at that time, but it's been a roller coaster. From what I remember, it's really a battle of South Louisiana as a whole. When you step back and think about it, because you have a bar, a venue that's right on the border of 2 main areas of Lafayette, in Freetown and downtown, where there's also a church roughly a block and a half away. And I know they had a whole bunch of fights and arguments, dare I say even court-based things. Like I said, I wasn't a part of it. I wasn't part of Atmosphere like that at the time. So they came to some sort of compromise because they've had two owners at Atmosphere since then, and I guarantee you alcohol has been sold by both those ownerships in those years since then. So everything must generally be cool. But I think it's actually, there's supposed to be some level of balance in reference towards, let's say, alcohol sales and food sales. So if your percentages, and I'm not exactly sure what the percentages are, if your percentages are kind of tip for tap near halfway, give or take, in reference towards your food sales, as long as you're not landsliding with alcohol sales, as long as like 90%, 80% of your sales is not alcohol, then I think the church down there on Johnson Street will be cool, and the city of Lafayette will be cool. But like I said, like you say, with location, it's crazy because all those things is going on with the church that was a block and a half away. Well, just a half a block in the other direction is where city court is.
Right.
So it's where you have marshals and sheriffs and police there on a daily basis, and lawyers with sideburns down to here. Yeah. So it's a crazy location. It's a crazy place. So yeah, I'm just glad that roller coaster is over with, because I haven't heard anything of the sort with that in at least 7-8 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. So
thank goodness.
I remember it being crazy because once it was announced that they would be closing, this is kind of when Atmosphere was, I don't know if where the peak is or was, but this was a very big moment for Atmosphere, and like lots of locals were like, why are you closing? And it's because of this crap. Like it was a very, very controversial kind of topic.
I think when all that was hitting, Atmosphere under its original ownership was somewhere around the 10-year mark. So it had been a decade of people basically taking that journey from wherever. Like for me, I hung out at Cafe Cottage a whole lot, growing up, even more so than Atmosphere. So taking that journey of going to Cafe and then maybe going to Bisbano's and Atmosphere along Sand Street. Shout out to all those who remember Bisbano's and the Cellar and everything. And then going downtown to where you was going to a Renaissance, Sadie's, Club 307, what may have you. That was the way people went, with side trips over to what's now Freetown, Boom Boom Room, and Loose Caboose. So yeah, it was a real part of the community on a nightly or every nightly basis to take those types of journeys. So after 10 years of being a part of that in reference to us here in Lafayette, I totally understand how people felt that way. I wasn't living here in Lafayette during that time period, because that's the early 2010s. That's my Arkansas, Texas area, but I still had the connections in between here in New Orleans with everything else I did. So I was able to keep up a little bit from afar in reference towards it, So I'm basically glad that they worked it out. I'm just trying to do my part right now to bring back some of that people had, say, 15 years ago.
Yeah. So today, Atmosphere, owned by, you said, the Bennetts?
Yes. Okay. That's Justin and Marcy Bennett. Shout out to both of them. How y'all doing?
So they renovated the space. Oh
yeah, there was a lot of renovations.
The patio was not closed in,
right?
From what I remember, it was all open.
They've closed in up, and I can say we because I was there witnessing it and doing my part hands on too. I wasn't the contractor for it. They had official contractors. I did more things in reference towards trying to reorganize the sound, but the patio that most people from Atmosphere are used to going in through that patio that comes from Convent Street. Well, they closed off that entrance and sealed off all the windows, mosquito netting, and added a pool table. And so now you can go in there, shoot pool, there's lighting, fans, what may have you. Updated the PA system in reference towards added some speakers toward the situation, did some repainting, the bathroom situation. Oh my God, the bathroom. People are absolutely geeking out over the bathroom situation, because if you remember what Atmosphere used to be and how the bathrooms used to be, yes, there are full-fledged regular people with stalls and men and women separated specifically individually. Well, make sure I'm looking at the cameras as I'm saying this. Bathrooms, what may have you. So there's a lot of different renovations. We're putting the finishing touches on retouching, actually having sound outside the speakers. The sign that was over the door on the Convent side actually works and lights up again. So I'm up there every week changing the signs in reference towards what entertainment we have here. So it's a whole bunch of little things. There's a real kitchen in Artmosphere now. There's no more Foreman grills, no more pizza ovens. Y'all know what I'm talking about from those days back at Artmosphere.
So it's a real kitchen
Yes,
now.
it's a real kitchen, real commercial size oven in there. There's like 4 different sinks, a giant freezer, refrigerator. Oh yeah, code up to code is an understatement, because there was a bunch of roller coasters in reference towards that, which is why we had the soft opening during Festival International, but then didn't get to permanently open until June, because going up to code, some things.
All that stuff gets in the way. Yeah.
All kinds of things, all kinds of people.
You can't have a bathroom like they did before.
See, the good thing about the bathroom is that the Bennett's, all they had to do was put the finishing touches on it. It was actually the Trahans who started the renovation with the bathrooms. Matter of fact, they had just about finished that whole bathroom situation before they closed back in October of last year. So having the bathrooms that far along, I think, was one of the selling points for the Bennett's. Because the Bennett's have no clue or experience with the previous bathroom situation, because they're not from here. Justin's from New York. He spent time growing up in between Seattle, Washington, and New York. Marcy's originally from Lake Charles, but she has connections towards Texas and everything else, and she's a chef that spent time in New York and everything else. So they don't have the experience like what me and you have in reference towards Artmosphere, even as recently as pre-pandemic. So them seeing such things as with the bathrooms and there being a stage and everything else was, I think, really a good selling point towards them purchasing.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that for them. And I love that for Artmosphere. It's one of those things where it's a name that's been in the community for a long time.
Yeah.
And to pass it on Johnston and to even think about it not being there is a weird feeling. So the fact that it's still there, the funky, the logo and everything, glad it's staying there.
What's even been weirder the whole time is that, those gaps in between ownership and opening, because the building has been there 22 years and even longer than that, or whatever it was before it was Artmosphere. Because I know at some time way back in the day it was just simply a house.
Yeah,
So Artmosphere, the building has always been there, but as far as Artmosphere, the experience, Artmosphere, the business has always had gaps in it. So it's easy to drive past it. It's just a matter of the difference between looking at it and it being empty and looking at it now and it's not empty at all.
No, that's awesome. Okay, so with your experience in producing and broadcasting and sound and media, just all that stuff and more, you're putting your work into promoting and managing the event side of our Artmosphere. Is that what you do? Is that your main gig now? You do a lot of stuff.
Everything we've talked about so far, I currently do right this second.
That's a lot.
As a matter of fact, my day to day is this interview. Then this afternoon, I go back to New Iberia because I just started working with the recreation department out there, Parks and Recreation Department. So I'm going to do my part with that. But then I come back from that, and then I head to Black Cafe here at Lafayette because I work with Lyrically Inclined, the poetry organization. We're having our monthly poetry slam and open mic at Black Cafe around 7 o'clock, and I DJ that every month. And then once I'm done with that, hopefully I'll be able to go to bed early because tomorrow morning is when New Orleans Saints training camp starts, and I've been a beer man at Saints events and things around the state since 1999. So yeah, everything we've talked about so far, I still do.
You still do.
To the heart.
Okay, so you mentioned it, from beers to bigger things. You used to do beer. You used to be a beer man at UL as well.
Yeah. For 3 to 4 years, I was the beer man, Mr. Hydrate or Intoxicate. Yes, I am that moose that was all at UL football games and UL baseball games, hawking beers and what may have you. And it was fun. Like, I got my start doing Saints games, doing Pelican games in New Orleans while I still lived out there. And quick note, every location I told you I lived at since then, I still went to New Orleans and did Saints games. And yes, I would get up in the morning, go from South Arkansas, from East Texas the night before, straight to New Orleans to do those games. Because, I'm a sports guy. So you tell me you're going to pay me to see my favorite football team in person 10 weeks out of the year?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was about to ask you, it must pay well. But at that point, going to the game is payment almost.
See, now you understand the phrase that I told you from the beginning of who I am, because there's a bunch of arts and humanities, Polysmith in it, but that business side in it. For instance, with the Beer Man thing, I'll go to New Orleans. I get to spend roughly 5 to 6 hours, 3 of which is during the game, seeing my absolute favorite sports team ever, the New Orleans Saints, play inside the Louisiana Superdome with 69,000 other people. And you mean to tell me I get to sell beer to them and I get paid for it, and I get to walk out of the Superdome 4 or 5 hours later with $2, $3, $4, whatever, $100 of cash? Yes. Anywhere I live in the South, I am coming back to do that. And up until roughly the pandemic era, when things started to change, obviously, that's what I did. So roughly from age 19 to 40, whatever, 40, whatever it was. And, things like going back to UL, kind of took the place of it because it was local, Things are different from New Orleans to Lafayette in reference towards rules. So, they, here in Lafayette, they still accepted cash in reference towards sales in the stands. So I'm like, okay, so now I don't have to travel that 4-hour round trip to go to an area where people may or may not recognize me from anything else, but one way or another, they're going to get to know who I am.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me I get to only have to spend half the time that I used to have to deal in New Orleans and still get paid the same amount of money doing football and baseball games? Yes.
Yeah, no brainer.
Hit me in. And then, the whole thing with the state of Louisiana changed earlier this year.
So what happened with that?
Well, there was a, I'm not gonna say, once again, this kind of ties into what we was talking about with Atmosphere, with the roller coaster and the vibes, what may have you. In this particular case, there was I'm not gonna say it was an unwritten rule. It probably was a rule, probably was a law, but Louisiana's so laissez-faire with everything anyway. Where they had a confliction between collegiate events and hawkers walking in the stands, where at one time you could designate couple of people to do the alcohol sales, and then designate some people to sell lemonade or popcorn or cotton candy, what may have you. And as recently as last football season, it had gotten to the point where I was starting to do stuff at LSU. I did LSU football last football season, but we wasn't able to sell alcohol for it.
Okay.
So I mean, it really wasn't a problem. I mean, when you have 100 and something thousand people inside of a stadium, and the student population of that is probably like 30,000 of that. Okay, yeah, I'll go sell popcorn and cotton candy and lemonade over to them. It's still the same exact thing. Now I get to see one of my favorite college teams play football in front of me, and now I'm getting paid for it. Okay, cool. I'd never been to an LSU football game before that in person. So taking advantage of whatever situations. So going into baseball season, this past season, 2025, ATC, alcohol, tobacco, whatever,
Whatever it's called,
whatever it's called. They came and announced and said that hawkers were not allowed to hawk in the stands during collegiate events. And at first we thought, okay, well, this is just another alcohol thing they're adding on, because when we did fewer UL football games than we previously did because we had the LSU contract. But when I did do the UL stuff, I was able to walk around football season 2024 with the lemonade. People would start to ask me, and I start to explain to them, transition, blaming a little bit on the rebuilding the Cajun field, whatever, just get away with it, make the sale, have a good time. Going into baseball season, which to me was my number one thing I was doing, because the love between the UL baseball fans or what may have you, it's wonderful. One of the best college baseball fans in the country, in my personal opinion. They made the announcement that we couldn't walk at all. Like no
sale of anything.
No sale of anything. Lemonade, popcorn, cotton candy, nothing.
Was this why was this? But it was still UL that was doing the.
It became a statewide thing, and the rumor, since this is the Tea Podcast, the rumor is that our friends from a UL perspective, our friends down the highway in Baton Rouge, they were up against it because they're in a conference that wouldn't allow them to sell. The SEC wouldn't allow them to sell.
Oh.
So therefore, they were like, and that's the rumor, once again, the Tea Podcast, if we can't do it, ain't nobody in Louisiana can do it.
That's kind of...
That's the rumor. That's been the rumor for about, we're almost at a year now, give or take, basically. That's the rumor. And I'm a guy who has experience of doing not only Saints and Pelicans, but I did Tulane, I did Nichols. I was just starting at LSU, obviously UL, so statewide, no walking. Now, you can still have the little miniature bars or what may have you on the side, but the people got to get up and go to it instead of us going to them.
That's so bizarre. It really is.
I know. To this day, it's still bizarre, and I miss it. I really do miss it because, like I said, that people here in what made this area special in reference towards that job is the people. The people make wherever you do it at.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling for Saints fans. I have a feeling for Pelicans fans. I have a feeling for Tulane fans and Nichols, and I have a feeling for that student section over at LSU because that's the only section I worked at on purpose at LSU. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's something about those UL fans, and even more specifically UL baseball fans. They pay attention on so many levels to not just the game, not just the players, but everything that makes their experience enjoyable. And according to them, I was really, really helping them making their experience enjoyable. Singing voice, acoustics in the baseball field, selling beer, great combination.
Yeah.
Big voice, big acoustics. I would have people tell me, okay, they have 3 games on the weekend. They'll play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be working on Saturday, and people will randomly come up to me saying they didn't come to the game on Friday. They listened to it on the radio, and they can hear me throughout the entire broadcast for 7 innings because I'm yelling, cold beer and doing my singing thing and whatever just to strike attention.
Yeah.
That type of thing is why I was able to do the national anthem at the game last in 2024. The day that the governor came to throw out the first pitch, I was doing the national anthem before that, and yes, I did get a bigger round of applause than he did.
Love that. That's awesome, man.
So yeah, I actually do miss it and what may have you, and hopefully somebody can talk to somebody that can talk to somebody that can talk to somebody about getting that readjusted. Because
I need that fixed.
That kind of goes into a bigger thing that I'm hearing about how people are fearing about the situation with UL and concessions and all that kind of great stuff too. But I can't really talk about it in reference to this year because part of the problem was I wasn't a part of it. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I can't really get into what exactly is going on because I wasn't there.
It's Our Lady of Lourdes Stadium now.
Yeah, that's the football stadium, and that's a good thing. That's actually a good thing because to me, being this involved in sports and having sports radio experience, those are the type of things that UL needs in order to become a bigger player on the platform, to not feel like the red-headed stepbrother, or in this case, the vermilion-headed stepbrother to LSU, what may have you. So that's actually a good thing. But unfortunately for me personally, unless something changes, say, within the next month, or they come up with a different way to do it based upon the way they redesigned it, I won't be a part of it.
Wow. Man, that's unfortunate, because that's what you love to do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one of the many things you love to do.
Oh yeah. So see, once again, they all tie in together. Yeah. They all have some part in the arts. They all have some parts in the humanities. And they all have some parts in business. So as long as I'm able to find creative ways to help myself and other people have good times and get paid for it on the side, there you go.
Dude, man, you got to figure it out. Okay, so we are at 43 minutes. I want to go ahead and start landing this plane, and I want to talk to you about there's a particular. This may be out of your wheelhouse, but I feel like you're a man of many different things and discussions and conversations. Have you ever heard of Mr. Chime Time?
Yes, I've heard of him. I don't follow him, and that's not because I have anything against him or what have you, but I know who he is.
Okay, so he's like I think he's a North Carolina chef who's traveling mainly the South Louisiana area. He came to New Orleans first, from what I understand, and just dogged on New Orleans hard. Why? I don't know. I think that he was expecting a certain type of food and went to New Orleans and just didn't. Now, obviously, New Orleans is like, well, you went to this place, so we don't go there. You went to this place, we don't go there. We go here. And I think some of the food he liked, but overwhelmingly, it was in his opinion, an unenjoyable situation. And in the comments section, everybody was like, if you want food in South Louisiana, you come to 337.
Jump to the 337, yes.
You jump over 225, you come to 337.
Yeah.
That's where you get Cajun Creole-ish food, because Creole's more New Orleans thing, but the hybrid is in South, 337. That's where Cajun Creole mix really well.
Yeah, one of the biggest elephants in the room there is.
Exactly, exactly. And so people begged him in the comment section, come to 337, come to 337. He went to 225 first on his way in from New Orleans and didn't really care for the food. We could have told him that.
Yeah, we could have told him that.
But
easily.
he officially came into 337, give or take, in the past month, because he's still releasing videos and nobody knows when he officially came and when he left.
It was like at the beginning. It was the end of June, beginning of July.
Yeah. So it was in that range. And a lot of the videos that we're seeing now are just being released. So he's gone to several of the boudin places. He's gone to several plate lunch places that I didn't even know about, some food trucks, and trying different 337 food and blowing it out the water.
Blowing them out. That's the exact phrase I was thinking. Blowing them out the water. Because it's one of the biggest elephants. The reason why I don't keep up with him individually, but the story and the subject matter and the vibe behind it, I've been on forever, being someone from New Iberia who's lived in New Orleans and in Shreveport, and now back here in Lafayette, and done all this work and different things in all these cities. It's like I said, it's the biggest elephant there is in reference towards it, because I lived in New Orleans for 7 years. 1998 to 2005. I've worked in New Orleans consecutively since 1998.
And you've had to have eaten.
So
in
I've eaten in several places in New Orleans, and there's a number of places that I would still go to in New Orleans till this day that are inside and outside of French Quarter. There's places I'll go to in Metairie. There's places I'll go to in Old Jefferson, in Tremé, on the lakefront, all kinds of things. If I have a feeling towards something, okay, there's this little duck off that I want to go to, or there's this tourist place that people know about it goes to. But that's just it. New Orleans is the urbanized version of everything Louisiana, and it's a gift and a curse for them, because what I've come to realize is that, first of all, South Louisiana as a whole is the North Caribbean. First of all, got to think about it from that mind frame, reference towards what we're talking about. So everything you talk about with the Virgin Islands and St. Croix and Jamaica and Haiti and all those areas, in Cuba and what may have you, well, South Louisiana is the more northern version of that, more northern than Miami. Matter of fact, I say in some cases that New Orleans and Lafayette is the northernmost border of the Caribbean, when you think about it that way. What's the other thing that comes in mind in reference towards this particular area? A lot of people love visiting this area. They love visiting New Orleans. They love visiting Miami. They like going to Jamaica. They like being able to now because of everything that was going on, and before then Cuba and all those islands and what may have you. What's the other thing that you have in common with all this? All those islands are poor. The entire Caribbean as a whole is poor. They'll have its tourist attractions, and yes, it'll have its upper 1, 5, 10% or what may have you, but for the most part, all those areas are poor. How does that tie into here? Well, New Orleans is on the slick a real poor city. It's rich in culture, it's rich in heritage, it's rich in presentation, it's rich in anything it can give you towards having a good time. But we've actually seen, especially in the last 20 years, we've actually seen the extent of how poor New Orleans actually is from a residential standpoint, from a local standpoint. It's the same thing here in Lafayette. It ain't that much difference between. I mean, look at the difference between River Ranch and the North Side.
You have a big difference.
You know what I'm saying? It might as well be, it might as well be the North Shore of New Orleans and Covington and everything versus inner city and the Ninth Ward in New Orleans. And I have experience in both as an adult. So that ties in also towards the food, where some of your most culturally rich yet economic downtrodden places are going to be the places with the most food. The thing about it is that New Orleans, by default, I'm not going to lay blame directly on them. This is just how it became. They kind of became a David Ruffin, a Diana Ross of the situation, where David Ruffin wanted it to be David Ruffin and the Temptations. It did become Diana Ross and the Supremes. Well, here in Louisiana, they wanted to be New Orleans and the rest of Louisiana. But the average person outside of Louisiana doesn't know anything else about Louisiana because New Orleans, so by default, by not his own fault, as most part, dominated everything towards it. So that type of thing, and plus with the last 20 years with Katrina and what may have you, is kind of hybrid towards that situation where in reality, the 337 Lafayette, New Iberia, St. Martinville, Opelousas, what may have you, it's really been its own do-it-yourself place without that type of influence. Even though I firmly believe we need more of that influence to help our situations here in the 337, we need more people to come down to the 337 and experience things more beyond just Festival International and Acadians and Creoles and what may have you. They need to come experience the Sugarcane Festival in New Iberia. They need to come experience the Frog Festival in Rain. They need to be down here during the Freetown Shakeback, that happens here in Lafayette. Shout out to Port Squad. We need people from all over the place to come towards that. So when somebody like Mr. Chime Time comes and actually goes through what we're talking about now and having that real experience that's outside of a festival time period, that's outside of our most touristy time periods, and he starts to experience what we experience every day, but yet have that fine line towards taking it for granted and not taking it for granted, the elephant presents itself in the room. 337-0504 when it comes to food. Easy.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, I agree with the culturally rich part of New Orleans, because you think of New Orleans, that's a place to go to do stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You go there, and sure, you're going to eat while you're there, because they got some really cool places, but a lot of them are touristy for the most part, and you got your lesser-known places outside of New Orleans. But Lafayette, very similar. We have a pretty rich culture here, but it's just not put on this pedestal,
right,
that I think you're alluding to.
Everything we talked about here in this conversation has some sort of big brother, little brother angle towards it. We was talking about LSU versus UL, big brother, little brother situation. We're talking about the 504 versus the 337, big brother, little brother situation. We could have gone more into individual music and talked about I'm a hip hopper. So when they talk about Louisiana hip hop, they're going to think Cash Money, No Limit, J Electronics, all that stuff. They're not going to think about the bunny hop. I mean, how many people, and shout out to this guy who's both hip hop and non-hip hop at the same time, how many people truly know that Cupid is from Lafayette?
I know. Not just from Lafayette, but Karen Crow.
Right. Exit 4. You know what I'm saying? Northside High School. Here in Lafayette, that's where he graduated. We're around the same age. Like, I remember him running track, back in high school. I remember him running track for UL.
It was Sean, right?
Yeah. Sean. All his comedic and cooking things, what may have you. Like, you talk about, every aspect of it is unfortunately a big brother, little brother situation. And while that type of situation could actually come even within Acadiana, with Lafayette being the big place and all these other places, Opelousas, New Iberia, St. Martinville, whatever, it's not as obvious. Like New Iberia and all them, they have respect towards Lafayette or what may have you. That's the place to go towards. That's the place to actually, quote unquote, move up towards what may have you. But in comparison to where Lafayette is, in comparison to where Acadiana is, compared to, let's say, Baton Rouge, because of LSU and Southern and it being the capital, and those probably being the only 3 reasons why.
Right.
And New Orleans as a whole being one of the smallest international cities in the world, barely top 50 in the United States as far as size, let alone what it might be internationally. I think it's like 120 something as far as cities in.
That's crazy.
So New Orleans does its thing. I love living in New Orleans 7 years. I have a daughter that's about to turn 20 that's from Metairie, grew up in New Orleans, what may have you. So I have much love and respect, and the Saints been there, and as long as the Saints stay there, I'm good, But the 337, I kind of feel like Andre 3000 at the Source Awards, and Mr. Chime Time kind of gave us a little bit more because the 337 has something to say.
Yeah.
And if we started off with food, then so be it. Technically, we start off with the Cupid Shuffle. That's another whole story. But 337 has something to say.
Yeah, I love talking about this area with people because I moved here in 2010, but I'm only from an hour north. I was born in Alexandria.
Sinla.
Sinla. and I lived in Turkey Creek, which is basically the woods.
I know that Meeker Turkey Creek exit. Yes,
yeah. If you see that exit, we're about 10 minutes into the woods. Great place, but Lafayette just had this attracting feel to it. I felt connected here. I felt like it was like a very homey, family connected vibe. The community here is bar none the best community I've ever been in as far as connectivity and people caring. They'll still talk behind your back.
Oh yeah,
but they care.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's the weirdest thing.
It's still that leftover country angle that we have here. I mean, you know, like Lafayette as a populace is like 1/4 the size of New Orleans population wise, just Lafayette. But Acadiana is like twice the size of New Orleans.
Oh yeah, Acadiana
population wise.
Dude.
Yeah.
And Acadiana.
So we have that type of connection. We're used to taking those 10, 20 mile trips in and out of Lafayette, where the average New Orleanian may spend their whole entire life and not get across the lake. You know, they'll go across the river. Right. They'll go to Algiers. They'll go to the West Bank. They may even cross the causeway and go to the North Shore. They may cross on I-10 and go to Slidell, but not like we do. I mean, look how far away Franklin is to Lafayette, for instance. And I know it's in your head right now. Going to Franklin right now is nothing. Right. No. You know what I'm saying? 40 minutes. Going down, imagine somebody from New Orleans try to travel 40 minutes to go somewhere outside of New Orleans.
No, nothing exists outside of New Orleans for people that live in New Orleans.
Hence the David Ruffin and Temptations angle that I was talking about. Exactly.
Oh God, dude, this is crazy. I love the deep understanding that you have of the region, and because this is the type of stuff that I think people really need to hear is that, you know, we're so very different, but we're connected in all these different ways. But yeah, anytime I can like shine a light on 337, I do. It's just, and then but not that long before Mr. Chime Time, the Brits. I don't know if you remember the Brits passing through.
It was Jason Josh, I think their name was?
Jason Josh. So I've been following them for a while on TikTok. I think Josh first. I didn't know about Jace. I think he's the accent guy or something. But Josh had been talking about coming to the States for a long time, and he would make TikTok videos comparing life in the UK and fantasizing about how people in America live, like, oh, you got all these snacks and you got this stuff that we can't have because it's banned in our area, which rightfully so. We put stuff in snacks that you shouldn't be in there.
That's a whole other conversation.
It is. Like, there are so many different conversations that we can have. But so he romanticized about coming to the States, and finally he did, like, after COVID, and loves it. They come back so often that they might as well just move here. And over their journey, they made their way to South Louisiana. I think people in the comment section had begging them to come to South Louisiana for years. And they finally, weird path. I don't understand this, and I don't know if this was for content matter's sake, but they were in Houston, got a hotel in Shreveport. And then they were talking about the hotel situation, how bad it was. First of all, did you really look into it? Like, I feel weird about that.
And continue to feel weird about that because I'm not gonna knock. Shreveport is another area of Louisiana, and Shreveport is different from New Orleans. It's obviously different from Lafayette. Obviously different from New Orleans because it's so tied in towards South Arkansas and East Texas, that Dallas area. Like in between it, Shreveport is the spot in between Little Rock and Dallas. You know, with a slight side of Texarkana, which makes it even kind of more weird because Texarkana just up there in some cases, splitting off in one city in two states.
Right.
So they have the same way down here in South Louisiana. We feel that Lake Charles had been slowly slipping into more of a Texas influence. Well, Shreveport has been there. Shreveport has been affected by Arkansas and Texas. And realistically, once again, like we were saying before, the average person outside of Louisiana, they'll hear New Orleans first. They may hear inklings of Baton Rouge because, like I said, LSU and Southern, and it'll be in the capital. Once again, those being the only reasons. And Shreveport, because Shreveport is the big city up there. Yeah. You know, it's much bigger than Ruston. It's much bigger than Monroe. You can't even talk about any other places like a Delhi or technically West Monroe or Farmerville or Grambling or what may have you, because they don't compare to Shreveport, and those towns don't necessarily interact in the same way that Acadiana does with Lafayette and all those small towns. So I could technically understand how an absolute foreigner could be in Houston, because you think about Texas, they're going to think about 4 cities, mainly in Texas. They're going to hit Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin.
Yep.
So if they hit Houston and they want to hit the other major city in Texas, well, they're going to go straight up to Dallas. They're not going to come through Lake Charles or Lafayette and then make their way up towards it. They're going to go to Dallas. And what's right there being influenced heavily by Dallas? Shreveport.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they did.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's but the weird part is like they stayed at a hotel that appeared to be run down.
I don't know what they did with reference to that one.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Some people, the conspiracy is that they did it to dog on Shreveport. I don't know if I believe that, but it was weird that you could read reviews, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
But ultimately, they made their way into Louisiana, went into Shreveport, got out of Shreveport the same day, got basically bought essentially into Lake Charles because the big casino execs were like, hey, we got you a place. Yeah. It's weird that the Brits never talked about the room that they were staying in. You know that had to be had to have been like an amazing room at the casino. Probably top floor, probably the presidential suite.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they never talked about it.
Because it's in Lake Charles.
Yeah, it's in Lake Charles.
Nothing against Lake Charles. I'm not trying to bag on any other part of the state, but let's be real about it. Like, the reason why Shreveport and Lake Charles are the way they are with the casinos is because that's their way towards catching up and being presentable with the rest of the stereotypical situation with Louisiana. Right. That's they chose the casino route, and more power to them. It definitely works for them because there are a lot of Texans that have a lot of money that can't have casinos on their own, so they just cross the border and do that. Okay, cool. 2 locations to us doing it. Yeah, but we know the real is Shreveport and Lake Charles. Love both places. Please continue to book me in both those cities, please. But it's in comparison to the main places or the more upfront places, because we still have our little brother complex with New Orleans. It's Shreveport and Lake Charles.
So Michelle LeBlanc said, I'll say Shreveport is different. I was born there, didn't live there long, though, before we moved to Lafayette. My late father was from Port Barry, so we moved south. I lived in Shreveport as a young adult on my own. I hated it. People were not friendly at all, and the food scene, don't get me started. If your family didn't have money and couldn't trace your roots back 200 years, they didn't want any part of you. That was her experience.
I can honestly see that, and because if Acadiana didn't have Lafayette, then culturally, presentation wise, that would be closer towards where Shreveport is. Shreveport is a big urbanized non-Lafayette Acadiana. Yeah. For lack of a better phrase, that's why they went the casino route in order to try to catch up and have something. Because honestly, you say Shreveport, Louisiana, and you X out the casinos, you X out Louisiana Hayride and all this historical significance in country music and early rock and roll music. What's the next thing you're going to say about Shreveport?
Nothing. I know it for the casinos, and I know it for when I was a kid. I remember, was it Miss America or Miss USA was hosted there at one point. That's it.
I mean, you have Independence Stadium that they complain about because it's falling apart. They don't have any professional teams, or they don't have any major colleges up there. I mean, Centenary I love the fact that they helped me really jump off my radio career, what may have you, but in actuality, the signal was barely going through all of it. Like if it was here in Lafayette, the radio signal would be here, and you would be lucky to catch it in Milton. That's the equivalency of that radio broadcast. So wow. it's really unfortunately, it's a real isolated type of town that's in North Louisiana, and you already know how we feel about the difference between North Louisiana and South Louisiana. That's part of the reason.
Yeah,
you know.
I know. I make the joke, and I think the joke is getting a little tired from people. But I call North Louisiana South Arkansas. But there's a reason. Yeah. It's because of the influence.
My wife is from South Arkansas. I can verify it. Okay,
Look, I appreciate that. But some people are like, oh, and I think it's mostly Northern Louisiana. People are like, oh, that's a tired joke. Well, I mean, it's the way it is. I grew up, like I said, born in Alexandria, raised in Turkey Creek, north of Ville Platte. The transition of Cajun Creole influence and any kind of French of influence starts to disappear, and you get more of that twangy, rednecky kind of accent.
We've always said down here that a nickname I've always given Alexandria was Border Town. Because you go south of Alexandria, then you're heading towards I-10. You have everything that we've talked about at the beginning. Yeah. You go north of Alexandria, you might as well be with the Yankees.
You might as well be.
And I don't mean the baseball team.
Right? No, exactly. We're talking about, that's hill country. It starts to get very hilly.
Oh yeah, in more ways than one.
Yeah, God. Well, man, we are just over an hour, and I really enjoyed the conversation, man. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect. I was like, this guy, he's, I just know him because you had a connection with Atmosphere, but I was like, he wants to come on. He seems like he has a cool story, and let's get you on. And man, this was a solid conversation.
Thank you, man. Like I just talk and stuff happens. That's all it is.
Yeah, I know. I talk and stuff does happen. I don't know. Sometimes I get in trouble, but
Yeah, I try to avoid that part.
Yeah, we try. Well, Anthony, Mr. Moose Harris.
Yes.
It was a pleasure having you on, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This was
I'm
fun.
hoping that, with this, and maybe you can book a few more shows and do whatever you got to do, whatever that looks like for you.
Hey, anybody that wants to get involved, just hit the Atmosphere page or email us. That's bennett.management@yahoo.com is the official email address for bookings or what may have you. And, as far as the music is concerned, just Google Moose Harris. I'm all on the streaming sites. I actually have a new song with my friend and fellow Atmosphere employee. I know him as Bug Gigabyte, but he also goes by Synthetic Messiah. We have a song coming out beginning, I think, the release, because we signed to a German label. We signed a song towards a German label, Plasma Pop. It's the name of the label. So the name of the song is called Pyramid Schemes. It's got some industrial EDM sounds with my flows and flavors over it. That should be coming out at the beginning of next month, start appearing. Matter of fact, some of the pre-orders is already in on some of the places I've seen, so it's great. And yeah, just Google Moose Harris. I'm everywhere. Bandcamp, streaming, merchandise, music, all that kind of great stuff. And hopefully, if you're at Saints Training Camp beginning tomorrow, I will be that guy pulling the ice chest. You will definitely recognize this voice when it comes to it. And yes, I am still signing autographs at Saints Training Camp. Yes, I am. So my personal record, I think I've signed 150 to 200 autographs over Saints Training Camp. I'm trying to break that record this year. So I will have the Sharpies on deck.
Yeah, dude. Awesome. Well, man, I love this. I'm gonna go as soon as I get done here. I'm meeting a friend for lunch, and I'm gonna pull up your name and see what you're about.
It's all there, man. Yeah, it's all great, All
right. Well, Moose, man, it was a pleasure having you on. I hope you have a great rest of your week. It's only Tuesday. We're almost at that halfway mark, and you have like I said, a great weekend, man. I look forward to seeing what else you do.
Yeah, thank you, man. Greatly appreciate it.
All right, guys, that is it. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and with that, we'll see you on the next one.